Welcome to Sex Education. And as usual, I'm your host, Chimereze Henry. And today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, which is queer relationship. We are going to be having this conversation about who is the dominant person when it comes to LGBTQI relationship. There are some people that are like, oh, I want to be the head of this relationship. I want to be the dominant person. I want to be the one to navigate every angle of how this relationship is going to move, is going to go. And at the end of the whole day, you ask yourself, how can being the dominant one or being the sub affect an LGBTQ, not just relationship, but also sex life? With me, I have Daquan Johnson as usual. Welcome, Daquan. How are you doing?
Hey. I'm good. I'm good.
So let's dive into today's conversation. And for all of you joining us, please, when you'll be watching later, please drop your comments, contribute to these topics if you are joining us. So today we're talking about being the dominant person in a relationship. What is your ideal queer relationship like? When it comes to dating, when it comes to being in a relationship, or even in a sexual fling, what do you think your ideal relationship setting is?
Are you asking like? I guess I'm not understanding the question. Like, are you asking like, is it?
Like, are you like one of the school of thought that okay, if I'm going to be the bottom in this relationship as the top, you are going to be the dominant one, or are you in the school of thought that anybody could be the dominant one in the relationship to navigate this relationship to where it's
Okay,
supposed to
that's
go?
what you meant. Okay,
That's what I
okay. I
meant.
was just confused. Well, I think heterosexual people have an idea that in gay relationships, there's always a man and a woman, and they usually associate that with dominance and submission. But honestly, I think the ideal relationship should be just two people, working together. It does like it's. I don't think that comes into your relationship. I think that's just your personality. Because some people just have dominant personalities versus just being dominant in a relationship. So I think the ideal way for me is yeah, I like a little masculinity or dominance, but um I think only certain people just strive for a dominant partner.
You mentioned something that's very important in a core relationship. Is there no a man? Is there a woman? What do you think about that statement, especially with like heterosexual asking that question? Because the moment they cite like a gay couple, they're like, okay, who is the woman in this relationship? How do you
Mm.
feel when people, begin to approach or begin to spew such words?
Well, I don't get mad if straight or heterosexual people just think, oh well, who's the man, who's the woman? Because that's how that's how they look at it. That's what they know. Like they're used to a male and a female. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, there is no man and no woman. Like because there's no roles. It's just two men or two women. Like it's just that's how I feel about it.
Which makes sense, right? But at the end of the whole day, they is still like the sub person in the relationship, and they still like the dominant person in the relationship. To you, who do you feel should be the dominant person in a relationship?
Who do I feel should be the dominant person?
Yeah, are you like one of those people who feel like, oh yeah, you're the top, and since you're strictly top, you are going to be like, you're going to pay my bills, you're going to because like I'm giving you all my body, you're going to foot my bills, you're going to cherish me, you're going to make sure that you treat me as a woman.
No, I don't feel like because you're a top that because I think what people don't know is every top is not masculine. Every top is not dominant. Every top, some tops are feminine. Some tops are submissive to their bottoms. So like it really just depends. Like I don't think they're like I don't know. Like I feel like dominance is only important maybe during sex or during an argument, but aside from that, like it doesn't really. because you're the dominant one doesn't mean that, oh, you have to pay my bills, or oh, you have to take care of home, or if
Sorry,
we get into a fight, you're the one who's
sorry.
going to have to fight.
I was out for a bit. So what were you saying? What did you say before I got back?
No, I'm just saying I feel like it's only important like maybe during sex, or if that's what you're into. Like if you want someone to grab you up or talk over you or choke you up or be a little bit more aggressive and more dominant and put their foot down more, okay, fine. But just because you're dominant don't mean that I can't be the breadwinner or I can't take care of home because I'm submissive. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So dominance to you is just when someone, takes the role in the bed, not actually financially.
Yeah. I don't think that those are two of the same things.
Yeah, for me, I kind of feel like in a relationship, anybody could take the lead role. Like whoever is putting in the much effort. So, for example, when you're in a relationship, that early stage of the relationship, everybody is not going to, the both of you are not going to be, before I say everybody, the both of you are not going to be on the same page, right? There's always going to be one person who loves the relationship more than the other person, and one
Okay.
person who, gets the relationship more than the other person, and most times it's always like the top in the relationship. But
Hmm.
there are different instances where the bottom begins to take control and takes care of their top. So I feel like we need to, understand that the world we live in is becoming more advanced and is becoming more, open-minded. That's the word. And anybody who has the financial capacity, or anybody who is putting in the much effort in that relationship, can take the role, can take the role of the dominant person. But it still doesn't change what happens in bed. Because like there are some bottoms that are like, okay, since I'm paying your bills, since I'm footing everything in this relationship and getting it, I feel like I need to be on top. I feel like I need to ride. I need to be the person, telling who which position and what positions we're not going to, have in bed, which
Hmm.
is actually wrong. I feel like when you're in a relationship, the most important thing you people need to have is a mutual understanding of each other. That
Yeah.
okay, whoever is financially buoyant now, whoever is, the one driving the relationship, I understand that these and these factors are what is making you the one drive this relationship. So, for example, if I was when I was single and I didn't have a job, and I meet you and you have a job, you have a good job. Let's say you're earning like $2,000, $3,000, right? And
Hmm.
then you're footing all the bills because you have a good job. It doesn't mean that you become the dominant one. So I feel like there should be on an understanding between the both parties on who will take the role of the dominant one. And again, having this understanding will also help you enhance your sex life, because we are looking at it from not just being the lead in the relationship, but also how it affects the bedroom business. Because sometimes when you don't have this understanding about who is dominant, you just feel, okay, if this person is my top, is strictly top. So anything he tells me I do, that's how the bedroom business will be. But it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be so, because sometimes even in the bedroom business, you discover that, oh my God, I'm not comfortable with this position. I don't think we're born with missionary. I think it is better for us to have doggy. I think it is better for us to have reverse cardboard, because that is how I'm able to handle these sexual affairs. That is how I'm
Hmm.
able to handle the bedroom business. And because your top is strictly the dominant one, he's the one feeding you, he's the one taking care of you, then you will not be able to tell your top this. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. You'll not be able to tell your top all these things, because you are afraid that, okay, if I begin to lord him around, he may not,
Hmm.
understand, and he may kick me out, since he's doing this favor of keeping me, feeding me, and doing all that. Do you
Okay.
have any other thing to contribute?
Well, again, like I just feel like dominance is all in your personality. Like, if you're just a dominant person, because I know a lot of dominant people. I don't consider myself super dominant, but I know a lot of dominant people. Like people who don't like get talked over, people who are just very stern and very firm, put their foot down a lot, and so I don't know. I really just feel like I don't know, because if I'm dominant
Hmm.
and I'm in a relationship with you, I
Yeah.
can be dominant, but what if I'm I don't have a job? What if I, can't take care of home? Or, I don't know. I just feel like it's not like the same thing. It's not the same thing in relation. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get your point. So at the end of the whole day, I feel we should be able to differentiate dominance in the bedroom from dominance in the relationship because they are two separate things altogether. And when you
Yeah.
have, like we said earlier, once you have this mutual understanding, then your sex life will become more understanding. Because at the end of the whole day, you are not having sex with just yourself. You're not like self-pleasing yourself. You're having sex with your partner. So you should be able to have this conversation. That's why in all our sex education videos, we always say the first thing you need to do is communicate. Communication is key. So
Mhm.
when you are starting that relationship, I think from day one, you should chip in this idea. Okay, from day one, we are going to be open and honest in our relationship, right? And if you are going to be in a relationship, I feel I should be very comfortable telling you everything concerning me, the things I enjoy and the things I don't enjoy. I am so open about it.
Right.
We've also talked about having this sex chat. So during those early stage of your relationship, having the sexual conversation and the sexual chat of, baby, I love you. This is what I'm into. This is what turns me on. This is what turns me off. This is what I like to do. During those conversation, you should have established that in the first place, that okay, even in the bedroom business, I like to be submissive from day one. It is
Yeah.
always good to communicate to your partner that you're the submissive type or you're the dominant part, because there are several situations where people get into a relationship, and when they get into the relationship and then it is time to go into the bedroom business, they discover they are not compatible. They're like, oh my god, I didn't know, I forgot to ask you about your role. I forgot to tell you that, oh, I'm top and you're top too. And then you begin to have issues because you did not have this conversation. And that relationship will not necessarily work because you are not compatible. So that is where the place of communication comes in. So in the early stage of your relationship and your sex life, communication is always key. Now, in a relationship where you discover, okay, you're no longer compatible, what should you do? There are other suggestions. For example, you could look for a third party and make that relationship an open relationship. If you want it to be a close relationship, then you have to move on and look for someone else.
Um. Well, so you're saying, like, what do you do if you figure out you're not compatible with someone sexually, or with someone just as in a relationship, like you guys are not clicking?
I feel if you're I feel if you're not compatible with someone in a relationship and also, in the bed,
Hmm.
the relationship cannot work. Sorry, I don't know who is calling me. I need to turn off my phone. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay. Well, I think if you guys have bad sex chemistry, like if it's just not hitting, you could, propose an open relationship. That's one way. Or you
Mhm.
could just try different things and see if it works. But if you guys are like toxic, argue too much, don't really like each other, like communicate, like a lot of things, like bad things, you're just not
Yeah.
compatible, I think the best idea is to move on.
Move on. If you guys are still compatible in the relationship, but the bedroom business isn't what you want, there are other options, to go along with. And again, dominance, nobody should be dominant in a relationship. It's not like how will I put it? It's not like an honor or a prestige. It
Mhm.
is just it should be optional. You could have a relationship where we say, okay, we're not going to have a dominant person. The both of us are just going to be understanding, and we are going to submit when one person needs to submit. When the other person needs to take over, you take over. So much like a verse relationship where you guys can switch positions and switch role as the relationship evolves, which is very healthy. Even in a relationship, it is an ideal thing that your role should always switch, because as LGBTQ folks, especially in queer sex, there is always a reverse. Sometimes you may say, okay, I want to be a top. And some days you'll be like, okay, you know what? I want to be a bottom. And you need to be able to switch from one role to another. to be able to give your partner a satisfying sexual experience.
Right. Well, I feel like that's not bad because if your bottom is, I mean, or whatever you like, is being submissive, the opposite person that or being dominant, and that's what you like. Because, like I said, some tops are submissive. So if the top wants to just lay back and be a pillow princess, and the bottom wants to take control and be dominant, then that could be fun too. But I still just think like it just all relates. I mean, like it's primarily used for sex. Like dominance is primarily used for sex reasons.
So, have you ever been like in a relationship where you find yourself like submissive or dominant? And how was it?
I think if I had to weigh myself, I would say I'm more submissive than dominant. I
Why?
can be dominant, like when I'm inebriated, but uh, aside from that, no, I think I'm pretty submissive.
For me, I
And yeah,
did.
I mean, and to answer your question, sorry, yeah, I
Yeah.
have dealt with a someone who was very, very, very dominant.
And how did the relationship go?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was bad. Maybe, maybe I'm just one of those people who like. I guess I do like dominant personalities. So I mean, yeah. So I think it went well.
And there wasn't no abuse, because like some people, their ideal description about being dominant, it's when they have this, all masculine top, toxic masculinity, and then this person is all like spanking them. Yes, I understand there's some people's fetish, right? So some people could all love the spanking and all the beating and everything, but at the same time, I think we need to redefine what being dominant is in our relationship. We need to make our own standard for dominancy in our relationship, so that at the end of the whole day, we are able to enjoy that relationship. Sorry, Don't has disappeared. Where did you go to?
Oh, I hate this thing. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. So, since we don't have any comments, we don't have any suggestions from today's video, I guess we'll just go into the games that we have, and then we will call it off for today.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
All right, guys. So, hello again. The game we're playing, is called 20 Questions. Sorry if you can see. 20 questions with a topic. Um, basically, we just fill in the blanks. It's pretty fun. You guys in the comments can play along. Um, pretty much, I feel like what would be smartest is if we fill in the blanks with dominance, and we just go like give our own answers. Um, so the first question is, what does blank mean? So we're gonna say, what does dominance mean to you? I think Chimerizi and I already answered that. The second one is, how can dominance be described? Um, again, I feel like we probably answered that
Yeah,
one.
we said that. I just feel you should, like, for me, honestly, I feel you should define your own terms of dominance in your relationship. I talked about being fluid, so the relationship should be able, like, for me, I you will prefer and I will enjoy a more fluid relationship where, you know, I'm not giving this title where this title is the box where you put me. I get my point. I'm not put
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
box. So as the relationship begins to flow, we begin to change according to the time, the season, and everything in this relationship. So for me, define what dominance means in your relationship. They've always been this old archaic standard of, okay, you are the masculine one, so you should be the dominant one. No, it doesn't fall automatically on you because you have the muscles and the chest and you're the top or anything. It has to be something the both of you in this relationship, talk about, have the conversation, and then have the mutual understanding of what dominance means in your own relationship.
Okay. Um, Yeah, I think my answer was pretty much just to me, dominance is just a personality trait. It's just who you are. Like you're either dominant, passive, submissive, or just I guess a mixture. But to me, it's just an adjective, a personality trait about you that that kind of amplifies your stance on stuff. Like maybe how you enter a room, maybe how you talk to people, and also how you perform in the bedroom. That's what dominance means to me. Um, let me see. Oh, here's a good one. So, what are the consequences? Excuse me. What are the consequences of dominance? What can happen negatively?
Negatively,
Um, I'm sorry.
negatively.
Yeah, I'll go first. I was gonna say I think not everyone likes dominance because it could go left because if you're like let's say for regular instance if you're talking over someone because you're dominant, that could almost come off as rude or abrasive, or if you feel like everything should be your way, or if you're just very assertive, those aren't very good dominant traits. You know what I mean? Sexually, like if you're trying to be dominant, but you end up hurting somebody because you're trying to force yourself on them, that could be bad. That could end badly. I feel like that's the way it could be taken negatively.
For me, I feel when people talk about being dominant, people kind of feel like I have to be authoritative. I have to be a detective, a detector, right? Rather, not a detective, a detector. I have to be the yes and the alpha in this relationship. You are not the alpha in that relationship. And that is where it begins to bring about all this toxic masculinity abuses. You begin to see that not just him beating you or she beating you, depending on the relationship, a lesbian relationship or a queer relationship, not just being beaten in bed, the beating then exceeds from the bedroom. He begins to
Mhm.
abuse you, he begins to subdue you. You don't have a voice of your own because he pays your bills and he pays your bills, he feeds you, he clothes you. You literally have no person to turn to. So your voice begins to quench. And before you know, you end up being in an abusive relationship and you end up even getting raped most of the time. Yes, you could get raped in your own relationship when you no longer give consent to those kind of sexual pleasures, and you find yourself being raped and abused in your relationship. So it is important that when you find yourself in such relationship, you should consider your mental health. Your mental health should not be sacrificed for anyone or anything. Your mental health should come first. Your mental health should be your number one priority. And once you notice that your mental health is being jeopardized with, please withdraw and seek, you know, and look at your available resources of dissolving that relationship. Please walk away from that relationship. Please look for someone that you confide in and tell the person, okay, this is what's happening. I don't know how to get out of this relationship. The earlier you get out from that relationship, the better for you before you lose your precious life.
Okay. Um, what kind of person are you? Like, are you dominant or submissive? And I believe you asked me this earlier. Yeah, again, my answer was just I feel like I lean more towards submissive. The only time I'm dominant is when I'm drunk. But aside from that, I'm definitely a submissive personality.
Like I've answered this question before, I'm a fluid person. So it depends on the relationship. It depends on what this relationship gives. It depends on the vibes. It depends on how we even started and communicating and how the relationship is being driven. So if the relationship from day one you've been driving it and you've been the dominant one, I let you go. But if I've been driving it and I've been the one in charge of navigating this relationship, then I know, okay, from day one I've been the dominant one. But as time goes on, if there is a need for change, I'm always open-minded to change, because at the end of the whole day you want to enjoy your relationship, you want to have a companion. Unless you're in that relationship just for games, or you're just having fun, or you're not taking that relationship serious, then that is when you begin to allow you know you allow someone who is, allow the whole dominant or not being dominant, begin to affect your relationship?
Okay, that's a good answer. Um, what are the different types of dominance? When I hear dominance, I think animals. That's the only other way I can think of. Like,
By the way, your camera is
how
frozen.
dogs display dominance.
Your camera is
I'm sorry.
frozen. Your camera is frozen.
Oh, I hate this thing. Am I still frozen? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is it back?
Yeah, you own that. Wait, let me take
Oh,
you
I'm
out
sorry.
and take you in. It's okay. Oh, I think it's from your end. It's not from my end because I can see mine moving.
Okay, I'm gonna leave and re-enter. 1 second, guys.
Okay. Sorry guys. We're just having some technical difficulty as we wait for Daquan to come back. Please, please, please comment what you think about this topic. Comment what you think about who should be dominant in a relationship and who should not be dominant. What do you feel when people come into a relationship and say, "I'm strictly this, I'm strictly that, I'm strictly versatile, I'm strictly top, I'm strictly bottom"? How do you feel? Do you think this is a role? It's just like when people go out for a date and they say, "Who is supposed to pay the bill?" Who do you think is supposed to pay the bill? Who is responsible of taking care of the other partner in a relationship? Should it be a divided responsibility? Welcome,
Am I
Don.
back? Can you guys hear me?
Should it be a divided responsibility, or should it fall on the head of just one of your partner? Please contribute. We want you to comment. We know you are watching us. Please comment so we can have a conversation. Over to you, Don.
Okay. The question I asked before I went blurry, guys. Sorry. It was, what type of dominances are there? Like, what do you think when you hear the word dominance? I just think aggression, firmness. I think about animals, how male dogs display dominance over the female. That's what I think when I hear dominance.
For me, when I hear dominance, I just feel it's just society being toxic. I feel it's kind of a toxic label for me, but those days I'm trying to kind of understand where that word is coming from and what it means to me as a person. So for me, when I hear dominant now, I hear kind of responsibility, you know, masculinity,
Yeah.
a sense of who is getting the relationship. I don't want to
Yeah.
say who is the top or who is the bottom or gender role or anything, but who is getting the relationship for me. And when I hear also dominant one, I also hear like matured. Who is the matured person? Who is the most understanding person? If we were to go into a fight, who is going to apologize first? Who is going to be like, okay, I understand that. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I don't totally agree with what you are saying, but let's find a place of compromise. That's what dominant means to me. It's
Yeah.
also not in age because this is people feel like, oh, I want an elderly person in a relationship. No, it's not the age, it's the mind for me.
Okay. I mean, that's one way to look at it. All right. This is a good one. What is the value of dominance? Um, I feel like for people, I guess like myself, the value in it is like what you're looking for. Like, if I like dominant man, then that's my value. Like if I like to be corrected when I'm acting up, then there's my dominance. I like. I think the value is more so just personal. It's just personal. Like if that's what you like, if you like a dominant man or woman, top or bottom, um, and that's what you're into, then there's a value in it, and I guess you just get what you want, whether it's in a relationship, in life, in the bedroom. If it's what you're looking for, that's what you get.
We have a comment from our co-host who is supposed to be here with us, but as we know, we miss Marvelous. Marvelous, we miss you so much. We can't wait for you to come back. Marvelous has a question before I go and answer what your questions. It says dominance is toxic. You must be joining. Dominance is a good thing, especially healthy dominance. And like I said, it depends on how you define dominance in your relationship. If you ain't define it, if you let society define it for you, then it's going to be toxic. But if the both of you have a mutual understanding, the both of come together and say, okay, this will be a mission of dominance when it comes to our relationship. This is the boundaries. That's the word. This is the boundaries to our dominance or whoever is being dominant in our relationship. You can't pass this boundary. In every relationship, you need to set standards and boundaries. Where do we want to see ourselves in 5 years? Where do we want to see ourselves in 6 years? Where is this relationship heading to? What are the do's and the do not for me? Because there are some people that say, okay, cheating is not a no for me in this relationship. But if you cheat and you tell me who you cheated with, and I know beforehand and I'm not available, and, and I'm not available, then it is fine by me. There are some who say, okay, if you're going to have this relationship, we are going to be monogamous, but it's going to be an open monogamous, relationship. Once you go out of the relationship and you begin to have sex, I need to know who you had sex with, and you need to go do STDs and STIs checkup. So different people have a different way of redefining, their relationship. I think you need to define your relationship. We have more comments
Yeah.
from Marvelous. And then Marvelous says,
Can I respond? Can I read that one?
yes, please go ahead.
He says there needs to be a pilot in a relationship, someone to take charge, and the other person will be a co-pilot. Um. Well, Mr. Achafu, how come both people can't be the pilot? How come both people can't be the dominant force?
Even using the example of a pilot, there is also when the main pilot becomes a co-pilot, and when the
Yeah.
co-pilot becomes the main pilot, which is when the airplane is going for a long time, you've been traveling, and somebody needs to
Yeah.
switch gears. That is the same thing for relationship. You need to have this mutual understanding. What is your stress level? What is your limit? And again, let's not deceive ourselves. Relationship is not like a whole rosy up, rosy. No, relationship goes up, down, flat. Then it's a very narrow way it goes. So in the relationship, that's why I said you have to be fluid, so that in any aspect or in any stage of your relationship, and you begin to notice that, I don't feel like the dominant one now. I don't feel I should be the dominant one. You are the one putting more effort in this relationship. Take over this plane so that we will not crash. Because sometimes you can be like, oh, I'm the dominant one. I'm the one in this relationship. I'm the pilot of this relationship. And boom, the plane crashes. So it is better once you are stressed, once the relationship is not going the way you want, you take a break and allow your, partner, there is this conversation and there is this understanding. What was your question again, Don, so that I can respond to your question?
Okay, and then I want to read Mr. Achafu's comment here. Um, I believe, I think it was what was the value of it?
The
What is
value?
the value of dominance?
The value of dominance is one, you are not just in a relationship without not having a direction. Like being dominant one means your relationship is going to. So let me just remove Marvelous comments so that you guys can see my face. So having a dominant person in the relationship means that there is somebody who will be navigating this relationship. If there is no adult amongst children, there will be chaos. So if there is no dominant person leading this relationship, one day we are here, another day we are here, we don't know where we are going to. Secondly, you guys will know how to, share responsibilities in the relationship. So, for example, we are talking about serious relationship here. We're not talking about people who just met 1, 2, 3 weeks. We're talking about people who want to spend almost their life together. So, you guys will be like, okay, when we want to get a house, who is going to be the person to buy the house? Who's going to bring the money? There is a form of responsibility in having a dominant person in the relationship, and that dominant person then will be accountable for things in the relationship.
Okay.
That's
Um,
my own definition for me, by the ways, but it's not standard for everybody. Like I said, you define what dominance means in your relationship.
Let me read Mr. Chafo's comment. He said, "Dominance depends on where you see it, or excuse me, where you use it. Some people use it only sexually, some use it only socially, some use it physically, emotionally, and some financially. It depends on where you do dominate." And see, that's kind of like, I think he said it better than how I tried to say it earlier. It's only like circumstantial. Primarily, I think people like dominance and like sexually or like socially. Um, I think Chimarenza, you're speaking more on the financial aspect of it,
I
but there
spoke
are
about the
different
financial, I spoke
yeah,
about the emotional, and I spoke about the
yeah.
sexual.
I'm just saying primary. I think it's just circumstantial as a whole. So I agree with Marvelous is saying. It just depends on where it's applied. So I definitely agree with that.
And I feel that's what I've been saying, your definition and where you apply it. Okay, I think the word definition, okay, the way you define it. But yes, like Marvelous Facts will say, you use it, where you use it is very important. Because when it comes to
Yeah.
emotionally, yes, they are good benefit. Financially, they are good benefit. But sometimes physically, they may not really be a good benefit. Because if I wanted somebody dominant, physically, I could just get a bodyguard or,
Mhm.
or a security, or go to the gym and be my own security, because you could be nobody can defend you more than the way you defend yourself. So I feel like depending on the situation, depending on your relationship and where your relationship is heading to, that's why I said where your relationship is heading to determines what the definition of dominance will be in that relationship. Let me give a very clear example. So for example, I'm very feminine, but from day one, I was the one who started this attraction. I was the one who approached you, and I've been the dominant one. Then, in such situation, I've been the dominant one, but later, you then take more interest in me, and you've been the one now checking up on me, now caring for me, now doing all the things I used to do before. I'm no longer the dominant one, though that I was originally the alpha dominant one, right? But now you become the dominant one in the relationship, because now I have fallen back. Maybe I've become so busy with work, I've become so busy with career, and now you have much time to do all these things and check up on me, or you're more mentally mature than me now. You're getting now. You become the dominant one. That is why I said you define it in your relationship. But there are some people that be like, oh, is it because you're the one feeding me, taking care of me? No, to be the dominant one in this relationship. I'm the top in this relationship, and it must be like that. Even though if you're, feeding me, doing all the responsibility, it's not supposed to be so. Society should not define your relationship. You define your relationship. You and your partner define your relationship. That is why these days when I hear people who say, "Oh, they are what's the word? Is it polygamous?" I don't think it's polygamous. I've forgotten the one with more than one partner. You know, they are in like more in a relationship with more than one person, and they are in a group relationship. And I'm like, that's you. That's how you define your relationship. Do I totally agree with how you define your relationship? No. But one thing I know is that you've defined your relationship, it's working for you, and you're happy about it. So, darling, do you?
Um, I was actually gonna. If you could go to the next comment, Mr. Chafu. He's so silly. He said, "Every relationship can't be on equally. Some bottoms enjoy being dominated. That's very true, and some tops too. They can't make decisions or act by themselves. Mm, some tops are softer than Walmart chicken, so they can't make decisions." So silly.
And I feel it's not a thing of body shaming people. That's why I say you define your relationship. Because, like, when we talk about dominance, doesn't mean you are soft or you can't make decision. It only means that you are the one fully taking responsibility of how that relationship. Because at the end of the whole day, you can't have two captains running a ship. Two captains running a ship means the ship is going to be going the opposite direction and it's going to tear. So it doesn't mean that if you're the dominant one, doesn't mean I can't make relationship, decisions in this relationship. I can't navigate this relationship, or your word is the final. I can't chip in, make suggestion. No, you being the dominant one means that okay, I respect that. okay, I respect that you are going to listen to my voice, and out of my suggestion, you're going to come to a place of reasonable compromise to make a final decision on matters that concerns the both of us. I'm not expecting you to make decisions for me.
Yeah. Okay.
That is not what dominance means. I'm expecting the both of us are going to have the conversation. The both of us are going to understand the situation, talk over it. It's not like you wake up one morning and say, "This is what it is," or "This is what is going to happen." Wake up one morning and say, "Oh, we're moving from Arizona to LA." No, you don't do that. That doesn't mean you're the dominant one. What it means that we're going to have that conversation, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to look at what is best for us. If I'm earning more money than you and I have a steady job, what are we moving? Are you getting? Or if I am, performing better, or if sex is better in the bedroom than you being on top of me, why should we change what works for us?
Can I read? He's saying some pretty good stuff, Mr. Achafo's next comment. Um, he says, dominance will always be in a relationship. It's just by making it healthy and we use it in the right way to protecting our partners and not using and controlling our tops or bottoms like remotes or dogs. I was going to say that, like, dominance can almost come off controlling or abrasive. Like I said, it's not always a good thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I see what he's saying. Like, yeah, it plays a part unless it's unhealthily. You know what I mean? Like, if you're just telling someone what to do, um, if you're just telling them what to do, or you're just
You could
forcing them to
just
do
you could
stuff.
just go to the store and get a robot if you're gonna tell them what to do.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if they're like, I want to, go buy this, or like, no, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not really funny anymore at that point. It's like, now you're actually trying to control me and tell me what to do and what I can and can't do. That's not dominant anymore. That's just unhealthy.
And that's why, in the earlier stage of our conversation, minding the time that we're almost running out of time, we talked about setting boundaries and rules. That is why from day
Yeah.
one, there are boundaries and rules. They are going to be safe words. We've talked about safe words. So when you are exceeding your boundaries, we are going to have the safe words like, "Yo, I'm not finding this funny. You're abusing me." Something that's a safe word to you. I don't know what you term as your own safe word, but we're going to have that safe word that when our relationship is getting to a place where it's no longer like a relationship, but it's becoming an abuse, then we begin to have this conversation. And if there is no resolution, we can then, you know, pull off. I'm just going to read the last comment from Mr.
Sorry about that.
Achafo. Oh, you're back. Sorry, you're back. So I'm going to read the
Sorry
last
about
comment
that.
for today, and we are going to call it off for today. It says, at the end of the day, if you feel happy kneeling down for your top or bottom to greet them in the morning, then it's all cool. But when you don't like it and seem force you seem forced rather, then there is no, then that is no rather. So yeah, that's what I've been saying from day one. When it's willingly, when it is mutually, when it comes from a place of understanding, you guys have set your rules and boundaries. Take it off. It's your relationship. Define your relationship. Define your marriage. Define your union. Don't let no outsider in define it for you. And that is why so many marriages and so many relationships, crumble, because everybody wants to give you an opinion of what they feel like a relationship to be like. They
Right.
want to tell you how, this is how your husband is supposed to behave. This is how the relationship is supposed to go. But you are not in that relationship with them. You don't know what led to that situation. You don't know what led to that scene you're just seeing. There are so many things that builds up before you see a fire. The smokes must have been there. So define your relationship. Once the smokes are blazing, please run out before the fire consumes. Don't you have anything to say?
Um.
Uh,
Oh, Mr. Chapo had one more comment. Um.
Marvelous doesn't want us to go today. Marvelous.
He says, final comment from me. Dominance is deep, and it's something that needs a lot of unveiling. Some partners even dominate to control who their partner sees or gives money and calls. Now, Marvelous, I feel like that sounds like a pimp. Like, that doesn't sound like a boyfriend. That sounds like a payee, or like your mother or father when you're a child. Like, someone shouldn't be able to control, who you see, talk to, give money to, do with your money. That sounds like a pimp or something like that. But yeah,
But
that's a
even
different
even
type of
even these
dominant.
days, still talking about controlling. Even some parents and some guidance don't know when to let go of their children or their siblings. They don't know when to let go and allow children or adults take decisions. And that's the same thing. You need to be able to know when to allow your partner, allow your spouses, allow your guardians make decision, and you trust the decisions they are making it in good faith because you have been able to have conversations, you have lived with them, you trust them. And that is where we talk about dominance. Dominance means that in those situations you'll be able to protect them, and even if you don't respect the decisions they are making, you allow them to express themselves. But the issue is that we have, like we said earlier, we have a lot of dictators, and people don't know when they become dictators over people's life because they don't. If we don't agree together, nobody it will be
Absolutely.
nobody's own. It must be my opinion. It must be me and only me. Final. And
Absolutely.
that is when it becomes toxic. And like I said before, anything that makes second guess your mental health, pull out from it. Your mental health should not be sacrificed for anything. Friends, family, relationship, put your mental health first. If you need to cut off, cut off. If you need to divorce, divorce. If you need to break the relationship, break the relationship. That is one way to go. Because at the end of the whole day, like we said before, many people die of depression, many people die of abuses. Before you know, it will be at their graveyard and they will be saying, oh, had I known. So before your situation gets to, oh, had I known, you need to make sure you take control of your relationship. Don't die in an abusive relationship because you're trying to please society and you're trying to follow society's definition of dominant.
Absolutely.
Final words for me to come before we call it off for the day.
Um, I'm just gonna say it's nothing wrong with being dominant. It's nothing wrong with liking dominance. It's nothing wrong with asserting yourself, putting your foot down, or pleasuring your partner, like if that's what they like. But I just say don't make it extreme. Like, don't be a jerk. Don't be rude. Don't be forceful. Don't be assertive. Like, do you see the comparison? Like, be dominant, but don't, you know, be aggressive. Like, be assertive, but don't be abrasive. Just try to know the boundary line, like the boundary line between those two, because people can think it's one thing and it could be something, you could be doing something that it's not. So, um, I mean, yeah, just be yourself, but just be careful, I guess. And again, like Chimerizi was saying, like, if you are the submissive person, don't just, fold under pressure or feel like you have to do everything someone says, because you might be, taken advantage of. You might be in a toxic situation and may not even realize it. So, yeah, that's just my advice to you guys.
And just to conclude, like Dant has chipped in, if you are in an abusive relationship, and I think this is something we need to talk about. I don't know if we'll talk about it tomorrow in Bonding Questions. So, guys, if you're watching, please make sure you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button and help us have a voice. That is how you help to submit. So, I say
Subscribe,
submit. That
guys.
is how you help to support and build our community. Please, you enjoy this show, so why haven't you subscribed? So just to
Come
chip
on now.
in, Speaking out is very important. If you ever find that your relationship is getting into the toxic zone, talk about it. There is no issue in having a conversation with a therapist. I think we should make having, a therapist appointment and having counseling appointment a norm, because many black queer people go through depression, anxiety, and they don't talk about it. They try to suppress it until it becomes a full-blown depression, and they begin to take out their aggression on the wrong people. I feel speak when you can, speak at the early stage, get solutions. It's not about having conversation and having conversation. There was a situation that happened recently, and we were having so much conversation, I am this person, but at the end of the whole day, I'm like, I'm done with having this conversation. What is the solution? So don't look at the fault or be the fault blamer and this. No, look for a solution that works for you. And if the solution means opting out, please, honey, up as soon as possible. Like I said, never sacrifice your mental health. Thank you for being here. Thank you,
You
Marvelous,
guys,
who is our co-host. We miss you. Please come back to the show. We miss
marvelous.
you. Please, Marvelous is not on because we are having technical issues in Qrealtalks, and because the community has not been donating, we don't have money. We are self-funded. We have been working hard. We have gotten to the stage where we are on our own, and we are proud. No sponsor from anywhere. We have worked our asses out. Sorry for using that one, but we have worked ourselves out and we've gotten to where we are. And you guys know we have been benefiting this community. So please, 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 if you cannot donate, subscribe, and peace out.
Thank you guys.